new to the Hop-In platform, welcome. There is so much fun going on in this platform, and it may take you a couple minutes to find us here on the main stage. But if you are in here already, come on, head over to the main stage. We're going to be having an incredible discussion with some amazing professionals who are representing a whole bunch of different pathways that you can take after graduating high school. First of all, I just want to say a big hello from Burlington, Ontario. This is the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Métis, and so many other Indigenous communities who have stewarded this land for hundreds and thousands of years. And I am so grateful to be able to live and work on this land. And just want to acknowledge that the privilege that I have comes in part from a lot of challenges that were imposed upon Indigenous peoples. And we are working on a daily basis to bring that truth to light and to reconcile for that behavior and really lift up our Indigenous brothers and sisters in the work that they are doing today to reclaim and to maintain their culture. So very honored to be reaching out to you from Burlington, Ontario. I encourage you guys all to also check out your traditional territories and learn a little bit about the land from where you are tuning in from today. There's an incredible website called Whose Land. You can just pop in your city and it will give you all sorts of information on the traditional territories and some of the treaties that may exist in your area. So a wonderful resource for you. Now, more on topic for today. We know that figuring out your path after high school can be a really challenging decision. It can be very stressful. It can feel very overwhelming at times. And right now, it can probably feel like the biggest decision of your entire life. And we also know that we get unbalanced stories sometimes, or unbalanced information. And often we hear a lot about the college and university pathway, but we don't necessarily hear so much about all of the other things that you can do after graduating high school. So today we're going to shed some light on a lot of those different pathways and give you some information about what other things are out there and available for you and what life might look like if you chose one of those pathways. So really excited to be able to share that with you. So the panelists we're bringing in today are experts in their field, and just wanted to give a huge shout out to all those that made this possible. So working closely with the government of New Brunswick, the Canadian Career Foundation, Career Development Foundation, and the Canadian Gap Year Association. We're all here working together to provide this panel for you today. So really grateful to all those organizations for all the coordination and support for getting this up and off the ground. Huge thank you to IEC, International Experience Canada, for supporting this initiative and helping students connect with lots of different opportunities, including working abroad. And we're going to hear a little bit more from Colin on that topic in just a second. So really excited to have that conversation with you. Now, here's the plan for tonight. We're going to have an introduction from all of our folks, and then we're going to do some one-on-one interviews where I'll speak with the individuals about their specific pathway that they're representing today. And then you have the opportunity to head out to some breakout rooms. So if you do have questions for our panelists, don't hesitate to pop them into the chat at any time. And if we can't get to them during our panel discussion, then head over to the breakout rooms afterwards and ask the questions there. They're going to be sticking around for 30 minutes after our panel discussion. So you can jump in there and ask all of your individual questions, learn more about their life experience or the pathways that they represent. So you guys are sticking with me for 45, and then we have that optional 30 minutes where you can go and ask questions. So you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen, there is a bar. You are currently watching the main stage. That's where our panel is going to be hosted. Right below that, you'll see something called sessions. That's where the breakout rooms are. And once we finish our panel discussion here on the main stage, that's where you can head to speak to the individual panelists. You'll see different rooms with their pathway as well as their name, and you'll be able to see them on the inside there. The last thing you'll see on that left-hand panel is something called Expo. And we actually have tons of booths from different organizations with different opportunities of things that you can do after you graduate high school. So we highly recommend that you head over and spend some time browsing around, poking around in there and seeing what might be possible for you and what some of the information that might exist. There's some really handy links and opportunities and videos for you to check out that expand upon what we're going to be talking about in this panel. So really, really excited to do that. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in our panelists here. So I'm going to bring in Tara and Colin and Ashley, and it looks like we lost Noah. We'll see if Noah comes back to join us in a second there. So glad to have you. There we go. Colin, you're showing up black on my screen. Not sure what's going on there. I can see you in the little blurb. But what I'm going to invite you each to do, and I want you guys to come, just tell us who you are and what pathway you represent. So maybe we'll start, I'll give you an order so we don't talk on top of each other. We'll go Tara, Colin, Ashley, and I'm going to help Noah get back in.
You're on mute, Tara.
Hi, I'm Tara McNeil. I'm a Red Seal automotive service technician. I was a former high school teacher, and now I am an advocate for women in the trades and the underrepresented. I'm here today to talk about apprenticeship.
Hi, I'm Colin Lalonde. As Michelle said, I'm with the International Experience Canada, which is the government of Canada's working holiday visa. And I'm just speaking about opportunities that there are to work and travel abroad.
My name is Ashley Dukes, and I'm a corporate recruiter with the OSCO Construction Group. I'm going to talk a little bit about two, types of streams. One, we can follow in the trades in terms of welding, steel fabrication, and then more on a detailing side of things where we talk about 3D modeling, 2D modeling that we have hired people right out of high school to learn and do. Thank you.
Amazing. Wicked. Thank you so much. And then we also have Noah, who's going to hopefully be joining us back in. He got booted out, but he's representing the military. Oh, there he is. I'm not going to speak for him. I'm just going to add him, and he can share what he's representing today.
Just go right in.
Go for it.
All right. My name is Corporal Smith, but you guys can just call me Noah. I'm a recruiter with 37 Brigade here in Eastern Canada. And specifically, I'm recruiting for the reserves. So it's the part-time military. And I've been in now for about 6 years. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have, dispel any myths, because there are a bunch of them, and just sort of see what kind of help I can provide.
Amazing. All right, so that's who you can expect to hear from. I'm going to send them all except for Tara to the green room, and Tara and I are going to have a little bit of a chat here, and then I'm going to bring the others back one by one, and we'll learn a little bit more about their pathways as well. So, Tara, thanks for joining us here today, and I think so much value in this conversation, especially for maybe those who don't traditionally see themselves in the trades. And really understanding. So all those underrepresented groups, which I think is just so lovely to hear from you. So not only those who traditionally might consider that pathway, but those who might be on the fringes of what might
pathway for anyone. Yeah, it's a great pathway for anyone. I just chose a different route, and I help others take that same route. I said before that I was an apprentice, so an automotive service technician. So I have gone through the apprenticeship program as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So then you said this is really kind of for anyone. Mm-hmm. So tell me more about that. What makes someone a really good fit for this pathway? What are some things that maybe are clues that pop up when you're thinking or having conversations with folks?
Sure. Well, the trades are really a great opportunity for someone who likes to work with their hands, who doesn't want to spend 5, 6, 7 years in university for a job that they'll end up being bored at, sitting at their desk. They know they're an active person. The trades is the place for them. Apprenticeship is a great path for someone with certainty in their career path. As a former high school teacher, I knew many students that knew right off the bat what they wanted to do, and that was how they were going to do it. Others were introduced to it, and it was a good path for them as well. It's a great path. The trades are great for problem solvers. If you like puzzles, typically speaking, we're dealing with a lot of different puzzles. Previous interest, perhaps you've had a family member that's worked in the trade and that's been impressed upon you during your life, and that's something else that you think you want to go and carry on that trade. And creativity, it's often something that's overlooked when we're referring to the trades, but creativity is necessary because sometimes those puzzles require very vivid thinking on how are we going to fix this, or how are we going to build this, or any range of questions. So it really is for someone who's keen to fix a problem, to solve a problem, to build something, someone who's active and hands-on, and they have a passion for it.
I love it. Sign me up. So all those people who are going out to the escape rooms or finding all of those online puzzles to solve, like that's a lot of brain power, but also that physicality to it, and getting your whole being involved, not just sitting there computing numbers or putting words together. Like, it involves so much more of your entire being, which I think is such a fulfilling way to live when all parts of you are active.
Yeah, it's good. It's taken me a while to figure that out by adding different pieces onto it, but it just goes to show what the benefits are from the program.
Amazing. Yeah. So then if somebody's going to enter into this pathway, what does that look like? How long does it take to become qualified or certified or ready for the workforce? Are there classes? If you could describe that a little bit for somebody who's like, this sounds interesting, but what am I signing up for? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So there are two paths to apprenticeship. One is the direct route. So we'll start with that. That is one where, say you've graduated high school and you've decided that you want to go, you want to be a carpenter, and you go up to the nearest construction site and you say, please, can I have a job as an apprentice? And they may or may not give it to you. That's how I started. I want to say it was hard for me to get that first job, but it wasn't, because I'm a novelty. 15 years ago, it was a novelty. And so I was able to get the jobs. It was a little different going through my program for me at that time, but that was how I got into the trade, was going to the local garage, asking for my first job, changing tires and oil, and learning that and getting indentured and moving that way. Is that the best way to go? It's very daunting. I was a young mom when I decided to start this, as I needed an alternative to the call center that I had been working in for a long time. I wanted to make more money, and I wanted to be proud of what I did and set an example for my daughter. I did go the hard way. I'm fortunate now to work for MAP Strategic Workforce Services. You can see my shirt is New Boots, and this is a network supporting women in the trades as part of our organization, but we also house STEP, which is a skilled trades exploration program, which is a pre-apprenticeship direct route. So we do a 16-week pre-apprenticeship course where they get math, they'll get the hands-on training, they'll get their theory training, they will do workplace essential skills, which are beyond essential to take into the trades world. And they get all their safety training that they need. We also provide them with work boots and PPE and school supplies and tools. We take a whole wraparound so that when our participants go the direct route, they're prepared. They have a background, they have the tools, and then they have the support from all of us in the background. Now, that's the direct route. So the opposite, the other route is pre-employment. MBCC offers a pre-employment program for most of its trades, which is a 1-year program. At the end of that program, you will write your level 1 which is your level 1 exam. And if you pass, you get your level 1 and your apprenticeship, and you carry on. You'll go to work after that. There is no placing you in a job after that. You have to, once you do your pre-employment, you'll probably have some ideas from the school and from people around you of where you should go, but you will find your own employment, and then you'll start your apprenticeship. Apprenticeship, now that we've gone out how to get into it, what that means is you're now logged in with the government of New Brunswick. They keep tabs on you. You have a book of skills that you have to complete in a certain time period. For some trades, it's 3 years. For some, it's 4. It all depends on what that trade is and what is compulsory for it. So either way, whether you finish, go into the direct route, or you take pre-employment and do the 1 year, you have to then go into the workforce and work for X amount of hours. And I use X because it's different for every trade. And once you've completed X hours, you will go back and do, if you're direct employment, you'll be going to do your level 1. If you've already done pre-employment, then you'll be going to do your level 2. So it's, the theory is it's 80% in the field and 20% in the classroom. And you will do that continuously over and over until you've reached your level 4 or level 3, again, depending on what the trade is. At the end of those levels, you'll write what's called a Red Seal exam, which is your interprovincial licensing exam, which means I've passed my Red Seal for automotive service tech, which means I can legally work across the country as a mechanic, assigning inspection stickers, and so on. So there are some red seals, like automotive, that are compulsory in the workforce. So in order to work in a garage as a mechanic, you need to be indentured, or you need to have a red seal. You can't just, I've changed tires all my life, I'm going to work in this garage. It's not how it works. Electricians are very much the same. They're compulsory. And then there's other trades that we're working on making compulsory because of necessity. But those are the 2 routes to apprenticeship, either directly or through a pre-apprenticeship program.
I love it. And it sounds like that there's a lot of like stepwise learning, and it's very supported throughout the ways. It's not just like, here's a car, fix it. There's a lot that goes along with it, where you get to trial, you get that hands-on experience, and then you get the training and then the certification, and it helps you to grow in your understanding of your trade as you get more experience, which I think
and once you're a Red Seal, then you're a mentor to the next generation that's coming up. So we also train them, because it's not something you learn in school, but it is something that is expected of you once you have finished and received your seal. And I will say that you can, if you're doing your research and you're speaking to different contractors or tradespeople, be sure to always know who you're talking to, and ask them, do you have your Red Seal? Because that's a question that some will say, it's not really that important. And probably would have said the same thing until I got to where I am now. And now I am so proud of that. I worked so hard for it, and I understand the pride that comes along with it and how hard I worked for that.
That's amazing. Now, Sabrina made a comment in the chat here asking about some myths. So I'd love to know if there are other myths you want to bust, but she asked specifically that if folks are saying that they don't want a career in the trades because it's hard on the body. Is that true? Is that not true? And then what other myths exist?
I would say it's a myth to the extent that it's used, because body mechanics play a big part in it. And if you don't take care of yourself, then that can catch up to you. It is a physical job. But when you ask my friend Ashley Ritchie about bricklaying, she's a Red Seal bricklayer mason, she will tell you it's body mechanics. She's smaller than me, and I am a sprout. I'm only 5'2", and she is taller, but very much smaller than me. And she says it's body mechanics. It's the way you move your body, and then your body gets into a rhythm. The same as when I was a mechanic. From the shoulders up, I was pretty strong kid. And so I believe that it's a myth in that it's a healthy occupation. It keeps you healthy, depending on what you're doing, and you have to take care of yourself. If you're an auto body person, you have to be wearing a respirator. If you're working in loud environments, you have to wear the ear protection. You have to take care of yourself. I have hearing loss in one ear because I worked on race cars and I was far too proud to put earplugs in. Now, my husband, also a mechanic, always has his earmuffs in. So it's all about taking care of yourself. But it's totally doable.
Amazing. Okay, we got to jump on to our next panelist. But Sabrina had another question. Maybe you could answer her in the chat as I bring Noah in. And maybe just before I let you go, if people want to learn more about this pathway, what are some places that they can learn a little bit more? And then I'm going to bring Noah in.
Sure. You can go to the GNB website and look at they have a whole section in regards to apprenticeship. You'll go down a rabbit hole of apprenticeship and Red Seal, and all their information is there. If you want to learn more about my program, you can go to our website at mapsws.ca. Everything's listed there. It should be pretty easy to navigate. But yeah, the GNB website would have all your information regarding apprenticeship and how to.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Tara. I'm going to send you back to the green room, and I'm going to bring Noah back in here. So welcome, Noah. So glad you're here. You're on mute, so you got to unmute yourself.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit and shift to the military. I'm going to start off with the same question, asking you what makes someone a good fit for the military pathway. What are some of the things that you look for, or you screen for, or just makes them the right type of person to join?
Absolutely. So right off the bat, for the reserves, at least with the part-time military, you have to be at least 16 years old. So it's a great option for people who are still in high school and looking to do something else when they get out. You have to be a Canadian citizen. You have to finish at least your grade 10 high school. For some jobs require a high school diploma. Some require grade 11. Depends on the occupation. Generally, once you've met those requirements, if you're a team player, if you're driven to serve, to help others, you like being part of a large organization, and you like to, if you're good at changing on the fly, if you're good at adapting, it's a very good career opportunity for you. And I think part of what makes someone maybe more apt to advance is their flexibility in life. So like if you're young, you're unmarried, you're fresh out of high school, you don't have a kid, car, house to look after, if you're available for travel, then you can really do whatever you want. Once you've finished your immediate training, then if you're able to travel and go wherever you want, which is voluntary, by the way, then it opens up a lot more opportunities than would someone who had already like a full-time job or had family obligations. And so general flexibility, you have to be physically fit, and people who are able to work within a team.
Amazing. So it casts a wide net for folks that are eligible, which I think is so cool. And then if somebody is thinking that this might be a good idea for them, what can they expect in the first little bit? What does that training look like? What are the first steps when it comes to that?
Okay, so when you first start your application, you have to apply online, and you submit your application. It takes a while to complete, but because it is pretty comprehensive. But once you submit that, a recruiter gets a notification, and then they email you or they might call you, and from there you have to do your aptitude test, a physical test, a medical questionnaire, and a medical physical, and a security, like a background check, basically. After that, you do your basic training, and this will take anywhere. You can actually do it on the weekends if you want, through the regular school year, and it's a series of weekends, or you can do it over about 6 weeks in the summer. I do recommend the full-time basic training in the summer because you just get more out of it. You're constantly in the mindset rather than bouncing from weekend to weekend. After that, you do normally at least 2 career courses, which would probably take at least 1 summer each. They can vary from anywhere from, like, if you want to join the artillery, they only have a 2-week course, whereas if you want to join most other jobs, it's about 6 to 9 weeks per summer. And then after that second summer, you're considered fully qualified in your trade. After that, you'll be placed in, there's a variety of jobs, a variety of occupations that you can do, and even sub-occupations within those jobs. So, for example, I'm a medic, and, you'd think I'd be, in the field, like plugging holes and wrapping bones and things like that, but I could work in preventative medicine, testing water. I can work in recruiting, like I did last summer. I was the recruit medic for the province, so anybody that came in who wanted to join, I did their medical. There's also opportunities for that cover all the trades. So, for example, like there's different demo tasking, for example, is when a person gets on a tasking, which is like a summer contract. Basically, it's a work term where you go and you've already done your courses. Now you act as the person who's training other people for those courses. And there's opportunities to instruct, there's opportunities to travel. But I would say that, like, once you've finished your training, there are a variety of jobs, that are available to you, but that might not exactly jump out at you. Like, there's certainly some that I'm doing that I have done now that I didn't know about when I first started. And so it's always good to do that, like, further investigation, because sometimes they don't always tell you what exactly you can do.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads into my next question about what is the end result? What are the jobs that come out of the end? Because I think there's a big misconception that they're like, when you join the military, you are like a frontline soldier, and like that is what the military is all about. And that's just a small piece of everything that's going on. So what are some of the I guess we can call them jobs or vocations that come out at the end?
So you can be a medical technician, which is basically, your combat medic. You can be a mechanic. You can be an electrician. You can join the artillery. There are the combat arms, which is basically, those people that you would imagine on the front lines, and that would be the artillery, the infantry, the combat engineers, and the armored. Those are the folks that like work with tanks, for example. But there's a variety of different jobs in the support trades. So you can be a trucker, you can be a mechanic, a cook. You can work as a signaler, so that's the people who work with radios. You can also do jobs like a supply technician, which is where you're working in the Army's warehouses, organizing all their stuff for them and issuing it out as it's needed. There's also jobs such as like we have, for example, with the trucker occupation, there's different jobs within that. So you could be there are a number of contracts actually which allow a person to go from working full-time to working part-time to working full-time. And you can go anywhere in the country with that. But with the different jobs, there's a crazy amount of jobs. But specifically to the ones here that we have in like Fredericton and St. John, artillery, we have infantry, combat engineers, we have the truckers, we have the maintainers, those are the mechanics, we've got medics, we've got cooks, we've got all the combat trades, and then, of course, we also have the Naval Reserve as well, and there's a variety of jobs that are available through them. But with a grade 12 education, you're essentially qualified for all of them, because anything you need to know, they will teach you. And so there's no prior experience needed. You don't have to be bilingual. You don't have to, certainly don't have to move around the country. That's all voluntary. But like, as for the different jobs, what I would recommend is, because there's just too many to list. What I would recommend is going to the Forces website. It's just forces.ca, and they actually have a filtered option, sort of like when you're shopping on Kijiji. You want ads with images. You want it in a certain area. It'll tell you exactly what you need to know. What different fields you're interested in, like where you're interested in working, and it'll tell you what exactly you're eligible for.
Amazing. That sounds so awesome. So really, no matter what direction you want to head for a career, what interests you have, there's a home for you within the military pathway, which I think is just so wonderful. And then maybe are there any misconceptions that you want to address for anybody watching that can help them be a little more clear?
For sure. So a lot of people, as you mentioned, they imagine the frontline soldier, but of course there's that litany of support trades available. And I forgot to mention as well, we have human resources administrators and we have clerks as well. So if you're more interested in working in an office, but you like the structure of the military, you like that sort of path, then that is an option as well. But any sort of myths, I would say basic training. A lot of people have seen movies, especially, Full Metal Jacket was a very popular one back in the 80s. It is nothing like the movies. You're not going to be disrespected. You're not going to be like, it is, you're there to learn and they're there to teach you. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be a healthy relationship, right? It's not just a constant drive of, push-ups and running through the mud. It's actually a lot of classwork as well. And the instructors, sometimes it's death by PowerPoint where you're just clicking on the slides, taking the notes, and you write the test. But the instructors are very well trained in their materials that they're teaching. And oftentimes they actually try to take people who have been on these taskings and on these deployments overseas, perhaps, to teach these because they have that real world experience. Another myth that I would like to dispel is specifically for the reserves, the part-time military. It is 100% voluntary. There is no minimum term of service required. So in the regular force, for example, you have to sign in for at least 3 or 5 years. And in that time, it's pretty difficult to break the contract. But with the reserves, you could get sworn in and then get your kit, all your uniform and everything, and then the next day decide you want out. And while it does suck administratively, it is possible. It is not illegal to leave. And another thing is that you don't have to move anywhere. People say, I don't want to get posted away from my family or whatever. That's also voluntary as well. Like for myself, I've lived here in Fredericton all my life, and the Army's never told me to go anywhere, but I've had lots of opportunities to go places. Like just last year, for example, 2 years ago, pre-COVID, if I wasn't in university, I had the opportunity to go to Kuwait and to Romania and down to California, and also opportunities in just around the Maritimes and the Newfoundland in the Nova Scotia area. And so if I'd have been available to take those taskings, I would have been on a plane to Kuwait or Romania for a few months to do, whatever it is they wanted. Actually, in Kuwait, they were just looking for people to help tear down a camp that was there. And so, yeah, that's an easy enough job. Why not put me on a plane? But it's also good to be able to say, no, I actually can't do that. I have such and such an obligation. And I think it's a lot more reassuring, especially for folks who are considering, starting families. They have a lot of loved ones and friends here that they don't want to leave. It's important for them to know that if you don't want to, you don't have to go anywhere.
Amazing. And I'm going to be bringing Ashley in a second here. But before I do that, can you let me know or let people know where can they find more information? You mentioned the website before. Is that the best place for them to find out?
Yep, that is the most. That's the place probably with the widest variety of resources there. But if you're interested and you just want to talk to someone one-on-one, that you don't want to just with a faceless website, just Google local armory or local reserve unit, and you'll find St. John. There's one in Moncton, in Miramichi, in the North Shore, up in Bathurst, in Woodstock, and here in Fredericton, of course. And then there will be phone numbers provided. You call that number and it goes directly to a recruiter. They can answer whatever questions you have. And I did see a question there in the chat. What pre-existing conditions disqualify you from joining the CAF, and does this apply to reserves too? So pretty well the medical standards all across the military are the same for both regular force and reserve. Any pre-existing conditions, so a lot of them it's a case by case basis. I'll tell you that if you have a condition for which you're taking medication, like ADHD is very common in the military. People join with ADHD, they're taking medication, and so they do their medical, they send it to Ottawa, and then the recruit medical officer, the doctor in Ottawa, who says basically whether or not you're good to go, looks at that and says, you know, if we were to deploy you, we don't carry this medication. So what would happen if you run out of it? And so then you're undeployable and then unfit for the military. What you can do, there are certain remedies for each like case. Some of them are just a complete, like you've been denied and it's very unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. Whereas if it's something you can change, like the ADHD and the medication, your application, you can go through and there won't be any problems. If you've been off the medication for at least 6 months and you have a doctor's note to accompany that, then you're all of a sudden that's waived. And so, for example, you know, maybe your eyesight's really bad. You get laser eye surgery. Now your eyesight's back to what it should be. And so now you can join the military. But it's but actually, I'm going to post my email in the chat. And then Amanda Rossetti, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, you can send me an email and I will actually I'll send you one of the medical questionnaires so you know what exactly it is they're looking for.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Noah. And folks can join Noah in the breakout rooms in just a little bit as well if they have individual questions. So thanks for sharing about that pathway. And I'm going to bring Ashley in. Welcome, welcome. So I think you got a good sense for how this rolls. So let's start with what are some of the things that you would see as positive attributes, or what makes somebody a good fit to head into the pathways that you had previously mentioned there?
Sure. I will get to that. I was going to speak about some of our trades, but Tara did a great job talking about trades, and although we're not automotive, path for all the trades is similar, would be very similar to the same. So I'm going to speak a little bit more to on detailing or 3D modeling in a bit. But the characteristics that we look for is someone who's detailed. And again, these sort of things, it doesn't matter your education, doesn't matter if you have high school, university, or post-university. We want someone who's going to be detailed, who is going to pay attention to their work, people who's going to show up for work. Attendance is very important to us. When I visit universities or in colleges and speak to students about potentially coming to do a work term or co-op placements with us, when we do referencing with university or college professors, instructors, one of the first things we ask about is attendance. Attendance matters. It always has, it always will. Because it's not just a matter of you not showing up for work and your work not getting done, but all of a sudden your teammates and someone else in your department all of a sudden has to do your work, or this customer is now suffering and not getting work done, or you're not getting something that was promised to them because we didn't come to work. So we want someone who's detailed, who is committed to coming to the company, coming to work every day, who can get along with a lot of different generations of people. Our company has been around a long time, and we have some employees who've been around 30, 40 years or less than 5. So we need someone with a personality that's going to come in and who can learn from anybody, learn from someone who's been in the job for 30, 40 years, or maybe someone who's only been there for a couple months. It's just, someone that comes in and fits in with a team, and it gets a feeling of like a family. Like, our company, there's large companies out there, but when you are put within a team, within a department, it narrows that focus and narrows that scope, and it kind of gives you an opportunity to it becomes like your work family. And we want people who are looking for that and are encouraged by seeing other people being dedicated to the company and dedicated to their job and customer service.
Yeah, and I think that's so lovely to hear that those are just foundational skills, and sometimes we don't recognize how important they are to being brought on to jobs in the future. And it doesn't have to do with what your grades are. That's not a factor in acquiring these skills. And you can just be a good person who works hard, that pays attention to details, and there's an incredible career path for you that's right there on the table, which I think we don't hear that message enough. And so I'm so glad that you brought that up. So for these folks that are coming out of high school that meet those qualifications and want to head in that direction, what does the process look like? Do they come on board? Do they receive training? What does that look and feel like?
Absolutely, to training, for sure. So what I was talking about earlier about detailing or 3D modeling, these will be opportunities that that'd be attractive to students who, while they're in high school, maybe took AutoCAD classes. A lot of high schools have AutoCAD now, and they were taking grade 11, grade 12, I think maybe yours always grade 10. And so these are students, or these are people who have taken those classes maybe in high school, liked attention to detail, liked drawing, maybe creating a home or creating sketches. They've been drawing maybe their whole life. Maybe they've always been drawing. So they are someone who's going to come in and see what it's like to build a building from the ground up. So within our company, we have we make concrete products, we fabricate structural steel, and we have a rebar department. So you could come in, if you've worked AutoCAD, and learn any one of our 3D modeling programs. And that could help you in terms of learning the job, because what you want to do is you want to come in and you're helping to create shop drawings. You're coming in and you're going to see drawings that would have come from an engineer or an architect. And that may seem daunting, but with the proper training, which everyone gets, you don't have to worry about that. We will properly train you. We have very intense training programs, and we will come in knowing, we will understand your background. If you're coming out of high school and you've taken these AutoCAD classes, we will know where to start you with, and we will know, this will be your path. You can go from, a junior detailer, and then intermediate, and then senior, and then there's so many different paths that you can go to, and it's all because you have fun playing with computers. And not everybody can sit in front of a computer all day long, but it's very different than sitting in front of a computer as a recruiter versus sitting in front of a computer as a 3D modeler, because it's almost playing, right? So it can be very interesting. Like the folks that join our detailing departments typically can stay for a very, very long time, because the projects are different every single time. Yes, it may be the same, concrete or same steel or rebar when it comes to that type of thing, but customer demands and architectural engineering demands are always changing. And so you could be working on a different project every single time, and it's not boring. It keeps you from getting bored.
I love it. And I'm hearing more and more from a ton of different employers about the training that's happening in the job, that there are foundational skills that people should be arriving with, like you mentioned at the beginning, but then on the job training is going to bring everybody up to speed. You don't need to apply knowing how to do the job. That's unreasonable. Right. But you apply, and then it's the company's responsibility to get you up to snuff and to get you trained on the right softwares and get you going in the right direction. So it's nice to hear that from you as well.
But to your point, Michelle, when we talked earlier about the skills, like we can train you and teach you how to use our 3D modeling programs, but we can't teach you to get yourself out of bed in the morning and come to work. We can't teach you to work diligently. We can't teach you to work hard, right? Those type of things we can't teach. we can teach it the other stuff. We can teach how to use our programs. But with someone coming in, knowing this is what they want to do, this is what they want to learn, that is, they want to be a sponge. Those kind of qualities, you don't teach that. You can't teach that. So people coming in with those, it's very exciting, and you can see it in their eyes when you're interviewing them or recruiting them. That's what they want to do.
Okay, so the lovely myth question: what are some myths that what is a myth, I guess I should say, that you want to dispel, that you want people to think a little differently about?
Yeah, I think when people think or hear the word modeling or 3D modeling, 2D modeling, they right away go to university, 4-year, 5-year programs. But it's not the case. Even for students who choose to use post-secondary education, they can go to like MBCC, a community college, and there are 1 or 2 year programs that they can take there, different types of engineering technology programs where they can learn to do shop drawings and blueprints and all that type of stuff and be out of school in 2 years. And I think Tara mentioned that earlier, but some people just don't want to do 4 or 5 years of schooling. But maybe they can maybe stomach the 40-week pre-employment trades programs. Well, for this, if you do want some post-secondary education, but just can't stomach the 4 to 5 years of university, there's community colleges that offer great engineering technology programs that help you slide right into a role like this as well. You're still doing so coming out of high school, if you like, but it doesn't mean the myth that it doesn't have to be an engineering degree. It doesn't have to be a professional engineer. It's not what we're looking for at all. We're looking for someone that we can come in that's teachable, that's moldable, that's ready to learn, but has that attention to detail, has liked playing or sketching, like drawing, like playing with computers. Everybody has access to computers nowadays, but there are still some of us who it's their passion. They'll sit and they'll build them at home. They'll build their own computers. They'll do but it doesn't mean they want to go to university.
Yeah. So. That's a beautiful myth to dispel, and also get the recording of this and go back to that segment, and there's your interview. When you sit down for an interview, re-listen to what Ashley said about being somebody who's moldable and teachable. Those are things that will show up really well in an interview. I'm going to bring Colin in a second, but where can folks get more information about the pathway?
So to Sabrina's question in the chat, they can go to our website. We're looking for a detailer now. In the posting, it will talk about engineering technology programs, diplomas. Doesn't mean we wouldn't hire someone when we go to high school. Or I'll put the names of some of the programs that we use. Like I said the word AutoCAD because that's typically the word that most people will recognize. We have, once you know how to use AutoCAD, if you know how to use AutoCAD, you can learn to use our programs. And I'll put in the types of programs that we use in our different sectors.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Ashley. And I'm going to bring Colin in, and then we're going to send folks off to the breakout rooms in just a second. So come on in, Colin. And Colin is here representing the working abroad pathway. So I'd love to hear from you, from your perspective, what are some of the things that who would benefit from working abroad? What does that look like?
So basically, I would say, considering the program is for Canadians between 18 to 35, I would say, first of all, they're 18, but also that they're self-directed and adventurous. It seems to be the running theme of folks who use the program, given that it's a work permit that allows you to work abroad for up to 2 years, and you can basically do whatever you want within that frame.
And so what does the process look like? So somebody says, hey, that sounds like something I would really like to do. What is the process of going from graduating high school in New Brunswick to working in the UK? What is the process? What are the steps they need to take?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it takes so many different forms. Like we have a few youth ambassadors who speak about their experiences abroad, and you see such diversity in what folks are up to. But usually the first step is checking out the IEC work website and choosing which country you're interested in going to of the over 35 partner countries that we have. And that's usually the starting point where people start thinking, okay, where do I want to go? And then they start planning. What is it? What are the kinds of things that I want to do while I'm out there? What kind of job do I want to have? The kinds of experiences I want? What kind of social cliques do I want to get into while I'm out there? Thinking about housing and things like that.
Amazing. I love it. And then, so they can go and they can apply for this visa. And what are they allowed to do in most countries? Like, what type of job do most people get if they're going to be working abroad?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's there's a variety of things. So you have those who work at a farm. You have those who work in construction. Others who work in retail. Folks will work at a restaurant on the beach. Ski hills, or we've heard a lot from our own ambassadors who, they tend to be like communication specialists because they want to talk about their experiences. And a bunch of them have managed to get marketing jobs while they were abroad. So yeah.
Okay, so really the world is your oyster, depending on what your interests are and what your skills and talents are. You could be eligible to work in a lot of different fields in another country, which I think is incredible that you can take those things that you've been doing at home and yet level it up and add on the ability to work in another country, to be immersed in a different culture and really experience maybe a similar job to what you've had at home, but also layer on all of these other skills that you're going to develop when you are not at home, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I'd say I often say there's a big difference between working at your local Tim Hortons and working at a cafe in France. That the kinds of skills that you're developing on those kinds of experiences are profoundly different. And there does seem to be evidence that shows that those who have had these international experiences do end up having better employment outcomes down the line. So they're making more money and they're less likely to be unemployed. And that's because of the unique competencies that people develop while they're abroad. Like others were saying before, those kinds of skills of being a hard worker, decision-making and things like that, it often corresponds to the kinds of challenges that you're going to find when you're traveling abroad and the things that you'll need to do to overcome them.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a great opportunity for young people that they may not realize exists for them. So whether you're delaying post-secondary or you want to take this up on your summers while you're off at post-secondary, or you just want to tuck it into your back pocket, because as you said, Colin, it's good from 18 to about 35 years old. So there's lots of time in your life to have that international work experience. And I just think that not enough people know that could be something that they could do in their immediate future or kind of in their short to mid-range future, which is really cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would say that misconception question that you've been throwing at everybody, I would say that's my biggest misconception that I would love to erase, is people not knowing that it's possible or not thinking that this is something that you can have as part of your path. Because let's say, far too often I go around and we'll speak about the program and people are like, oh, I wish this existed when I was younger or whatever. And it's like, well, it's been around since the 60s. But not enough Canadians know that this is something that is available to them. And it is super important.
Yeah. And I think especially as we become a more globalized world, those abilities, like those are things people are going to look for as employers is, can you function in new and challenging situations? Can you work with other cultures? All of those pieces are going to give you such an advantage, even if you're going to choose to have your long-term career back here in Canada. Those other things are going to be just so valuable that you can add to your list.
Right, sure.
Okay, so folks wanted to learn a little bit more. Where can they find that information?
They would just have to go to canada.ca/IEC, and there they can, there's a drop-down menu where you can explore all the different country options that are available. And through there, you can get linked directly with that country to apply for the visa. But beyond that, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Amazing. And you guys have a phenomenal booth actually in the expo. So we're going to be wrapping up this panel in just a second. But if you did want more information on IEC, they do have a booth in the expo portion where you can find those links, and all the information that you need will be right there for you. So perfect. Thanks, Colin. I'm going to send you back to the green room. And in just a second, all of our panelists are actually going to be heading into the breakout room. So I'm going to give them, I'm just going to give them a link in the backstage here, that they can go in and they can look for their breakout rooms. And they will just give them a couple minutes to get settled in those breakout rooms. So my panelists, you can click on that link, head in, find your breakout room and get settled in there while I wrap up the panel from this end. So you can disappear from this tab and that's totally fine. So I want to, first of all, just say that this has been so fruitful that I haven't even got the opportunity to speak too much about the gap year option. So if gap year is something that you are interested in, I will be doing my short presentation on gap years in that breakout room. So if this is something you want to learn more about, if you want to gather information for yourself or for others, a gap year is when you take an intentional temporary pause on your schooling or your career to spend some time doing something other than be a student. And we'll talk about what that looks like. It's not just travel. There are so many things that you can do on that year, but if you're curious, you can join me in the breakout room and I will cover all that information for you. A huge thank you to our panelists for joining us, for sharing their expertise and their knowledge with us. I think it helps to really balance that narrative and give us other things to really explore and see. A thank you again to IEC for sponsoring this event and making it possible to bring together the technology and all of these incredible people. Really glad to work alongside of them. So next steps, you guys are going to be heading over on the left-hand side. You'll see a link that says sessions. And inside there, you will see breakout rooms with all of the names of the pathways and the individuals that are here. So you can head in there and check that out. Also, spend some time heading over to the expo and see what other options are out there that we didn't even have the time to cover today. So really, really excited to have everyone here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending part of your evening with us. And I look forward to hearing all about the wonderful pathways that you choose to pursue and the fruitful careers and lives that come from it. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in those breakout rooms.